This is Pastor Troy right here. We've got a wrap up to season 3 coming, but before we wrap up season 3, get ready for what we call something incredible. It's called the best of season 3. Our executive producer, Donna Kranuski, has gone in the files. She's dug around, looked at your comments, and she's picked the best of season 3 to throw back at you. So over the next few weeks, get ready. It's coming up right now. The first of, the second of, and a whole season of nothing but the best of season 3. Get ready as that episode rolls now, and don't worry, we'll have new season 4 episodes coming at you very soon. Be praying for us. We'll see you soon. I'm Pastor Troy. You've been on the dock. Now get ready for season 3 best of. Troy, and you're in the Twilight Zone on the doc.org, on the doc.org, every Tuesday and Thursday. Reason I'm doing this is going to be a compound episode. You're going to feel like you heard this episode twice, but you didn't. We're going to do a 2-part show. It's going to be interesting. We've got a dynamic duo, trio, quadruple. We got a lot of people in the room here. I can't count that far. We got a lot of specialists in this room. We're going to wrap up part 3 of this show. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. And then we're going to transition right into part 4. So you're going to hear this same beginning for both part 3 and part 4. So you are not needing to stop. Keep going and see in a minute if it's different. So, compound episode. You're in the Twilight Zone. On the dock with Pastor Troy. About conversations to propel your faith out of the shallow and into the deep. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. You can also find us. We are on Spotify and iTunes, right? Right? Yeah, there you go. You got a YouTube channel too. Just a few things there, yeah. Right? Facebook, Instagram. We're not on Instagram. Google Play, Facebook, Roku, Rumble, and SermonNet, and also social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, and Getter. But we'd love to hear your conversation piece, your feedback on this episode. Talk to us, and we will respond back to you. Subscribe, hit like, notify. Tell other people about it. Go to Patreon. Download the Patreon app, or go to Patreon and look up On the Dock with Pastor Troy. There's 4 ways to partner with our show. You're a business, you're an organization, you're a church. We have levels in which we will represent you. On this cup on my wonderful desk is Crown Brew right there. Crown Brew has been one of our partners in the past. Also, we do others like that as well. We'd love to partner with you or a sponsor. You can just be a supporter of the show, and we have things that we give back and do for you as a part of that process. Check that out at Patreon and find out how you can be a part of what we're doing at On the Dock. SLNT.com. We're working with them this year in season 3. Promo code OTD. They hunted us down. Why? Because they heard us talking about our right to privacy, and they sent me an email and said, do you want to control your right to privacy? And they sent me this Faraday bag, and they said, we heard you because we bought it from Google. Would you like to have privacy? And they, get your SLNT bag, key fob, any kind of device that they have, and it helps you hide yourself when you need to hide yourself or have discretion when you need to have discretion. Go to slnt.com/discount/OTD. Check out their products and find the one that's right for you. We'll give you an ad on this. At the end of this, you can find out how that thing works and check it out. OnTheDock.org is our website. You can find links to everything. You can just go right to our YouTube page, right to Spotify, right to iTunes, right to my Patreon. So if you're just dumb like I am on the internet, just go there and get started. If you're really dumb, I could do that too. I just email and go, Donna, how do we do this? info@onthedock.org, and she will give you step by step on how to get there.
Do you have a link? Do you have a link to her too?
info@onthedock.org. She responds
okay.
to it. Yeah. She does that. Yeah. She is our link. She is the missing link. This Donna Kranuski right there. She's our executive director and producer for On the Dock right there. She does not have a camera today, even though we have 6 cameras on the set, because we cannot put her on camera or on mic today because, she's just so busy with 6. We got the extended set so we could have her on more stuff, but then we wanted to do a couple bigger shows. And then our guy, Lucas, who's our real executive producer, he says, when you're running 6 setups, they don't need a mic or camera. They're going to be really busy. So we're trying to get a handle on this. Is something new for her. We got Mother Beth. She's in the studio, but not in her regular seat because I got Pastor Dan there. Mother Beth's over in Studio B. Boom! She's using Donna's mic. That's the problem right there.
I stole Donna's mic.
Yeah, she stole Donna's mic. Next there we got my co-host also on a lot of our shows this year in season 3 is John Steve, executive director, Heron House of Hope. Let's give it up for Heron House of Hope. HeronHouseHope.org. Check it out. Lots of details there. Incredible ministry. That applause is thunderous. Right next to me to my right is Dan Piles. Take Action Today, director of programming. Both Dan and John are pastors here at Community Faith Church, but also have incredible ministries reaching the subculture of your region.
I'm sad.
Why are you sad?
Because I didn't get a hand clap. Like everybody else got a nice little hand clap. Oh, now you're doing it out of because you feel bad for me.
That doesn't help. You want a dance party?
There we go.
We get a dance party for you.
No, it's good to be here.
It's good to be here. We're glad to have you.
Very good.
Dan's been a co-host on several episodes with us. We'll get him on more. We brought him in on this one because these guys are running ministries to subcultures in their regions. And actually, we found out in the last episode that Dan's ministry actually touches into Jefferson County where they're at. We found out that your ministry has actually provided things to their ministry already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. And then Don bought us lunch today, so our ministries benefited by eating his pork chop sandwiches.
Right?
They were good, weren't they?
Yes.
The Heron House of Hope. Heron House of Hope's really good in Heron. You can go there if you need a meal, but if you want to go there and take somebody else for a meal, you can actually donate for a meal and help somebody else get a meal. That's what I like about it. So we're in Taking It to the Street Spotlight. The Subculture is the title of this series. It's in our super series called Taking It to the Streets. We're spotlighting the subculture out of Mount Vernon, Illinois. And we're in part 3, which is about the challenges and the next moves. We're going to talk about the vision, the future, what's happening next in Dale's ministry, the subculture. Steve and them are going to give some ideas of where they're going and where God's guiding them. And then, like I said, it's a double show. We're also going to transition at the end of this show and into the part 2 show. We're going to look at the last part 4. We retitled this during the break. It's the Roundtable on the Subculture. And then I wasn't smart enough to get this. His Facebook page is the Subculture 618. That means Southern Illinois 618. So I renamed this the Roundtable on the Subculture 618. So Dan, you're included in that. You're 618, right? Yep. John, you're 618, right?
Correct.
Yeah. We're 618. So we're going to talk about Southern Illinois and the 618 area code.
Steve?
Are you 618?
Yes.
You're 618.
Yep.
Everybody is 618 in this region. Now you may not be 618, but this will work for your area too. There's a subculture in your region. You can find it. Do you find the subculture when you're in Arizona? Did you find a subculture out there as well?
It's
Other places?
very prominent out there.
Very prominent.
Yeah.
You find it other places too. When you go to Oshkosh up there, Wisconsin, do they have subculture?
We've only been to Oshkosh one time, so and it was straight to that festival. So
Now, when you define subculture, I'm not even finished with my show introduction, but I got to do this anyway. It's impulse.
and I guess that was me stereotyping the subculture.
No, that's okay.
So,
that's okay. No, I
shame
love
on
the
me.
fact that you just own the subculture. I love the fact that we're just going to say the subculture is worthy to call it a people. And, but I like it because really the Jesus people are a subculture.
Absolutely.
We're all a subculture
Right.
of something, right? So,
Yep.
so we're not being bullied. This is a wonderful, wonderful way to see it. When you see the person that's collecting much change on the road, at all of our Walgreens, Walmarts, Kroger's, we got the guy out there, family out there collecting money. We need money. Is that the only subculture that we have in our town? Is there another world beyond the people we see collecting change?
Absolutely.
That doesn't necessarily represent.
Can I elaborate on that?
How do we
a bit?
find that?
So, in my town, I tell people the people that are out panhandling are not the people that we reach.
That's kind of what I thought.
Most of the people that we reach don't want to say, "Hey, I'm homeless," or "Hey, I'm an addict," or "Hey, I'm this."
We had an Uber driver in Kansas City
Yes.
this last week, and he used to be homeless. And he said he never gives money to those people because he said real
Right.
homeless people don't
They're
do
fake.
that.
Exactly. That's
right.
He said that real homeless people
And
don't do that.
Right. And I don't mean that to crush people or to belittle you for doing that, but you could use your resources elsewhere. A lot of those people are I know of a couple people that come to Mount Vernon and stand by the interstate for the summer and then they go back home.
Right.
And live on the money that they made over the summer. all
But don't you
winter
think a
long.
lot
So-
of people go, "That's the subculture you're
Exactly,
talking about,"
right.
and it's a false flag.
Right, exactly.
Okay, we're not talking about that.
The people we deal with are out of sight, out of mind, literally.
Yes.
Right.
If let's be honest, if you're an addict, you don't want to be out in the public because you'll be found out and picked up or whatever. So the culture that we deal with are, I'm just going to say, yesterday one of the people we deal with, we're talking about pooping in the basket, right?
The quote. Let me get the quote right. He said the basket for the shunned and people looking to belong. That's kind of what his ministry does. But even when you do that, you're going to have problems in there. You're going to have mistakes in there. We all mess up.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. So yesterday we're feeding a gentleman, right? And I go to check out a couple that had bought stuff at the store. While I'm checking these people out, the guy that we're feeding steals one of our people's cell phones and sticks it in his pocket. Mm-hmm. And we caught him on camera. So that's a good way to poop in your basket.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So these are the type people that we deal with, not the people you feel comfortable leaving your purse in your tent.
Right.
These are people that when they come in your facility, you got to keep your eyes on them at all times.
Sure.
Straight up. And there's a 80% chance that because they came to your facility yesterday, they're going to come back tomorrow and still be the same person they were yesterday, even though you reached out to them and helped them. And there's an 80% chance 3 years down the road, they're still going to be that same person.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I always say to me, all you were talking about your superpower, the ultimate superpower is patience.
Wow.
Because if you're able to outweight everybody else, you win. So I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're running a business. I don't care what you're doing. If you can outlast your biggest competitor, you win. So if you can keep ministering to these people no matter how many times, and I think it's what Jesus was referring when he said 70 times 7, not, I have to forgive them 490 times. No, he's saying if you can outweight their mistakes,
That's good.
eventually they're going to get tired of making mistakes.
That's
I don't know
real
how
good.
far they have to go.
It may take a lot of time.
I don't know. I don't know where the bottom is for these people.
John's been on the show. He's talked on the show. He talked to us at lunch about the Gideon in prison that came and ministered to you. Right. How many times had that Gideon come before while you're there that you did not notice him?
Probably 490 times.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The same guy had come and just done his thing, but then all of a sudden that day, a moment happens.
Can we go to Jesus at the pool?
Yeah, go for it.
Can we do
Pool's
that?
full. Yeah.
How many times did Jesus walk through the city?
Regularly.
How many? And just that one day, he happened to speak. Why? Because the guy was ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Jesus knew it.
And the guy had probably been there every time he walked through.
And I'm sure he saw him every time he walked through.
Right.
But today's your day.
Today was such a time as this.
Yeah, wow.
Right.
We have those moments, don't we? And I do appreciate the fact there's times when I've known I've had a moment or I've missed a moment. I do appreciate God's mercy in giving me sometimes even a second or third chance. Our God is a God of second and third chances. I know Dan does recovery ministry. You'll see people in recovery, they'll be fully in recovery, and then they'll slip.
Yep.
And they feel horrible. They're like, I'm a loser. I got to completely start over. And I like Dan's responses. That's not the case, is it? No. You did, because you made a mistake doesn't mean you go back to zero.
No.
How do you say that?
We just pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and we just keep moving forward.
And you learn something from
And you
that.
learn something from it.
Something triggered you. You just learned something.
Yep.
And you're not starting over. You're smarter than you were. You're not back in the ditch. You realize you messed up in the ditch.
Well, yeah. I mean, with me for something like that, I got sober in October of 2016. I had a 14-year heroin and an opioid and benzo addiction. You just don't flush that stuff down the toilet and be like, all right, I'm good. There was a lot of ups and downs for me. And there was a lot of times that, man, my wife was pulling me out of dope houses in recovery, early in recovery. It took me about a year fully before I was able to say, hey, I'm now starting to feel like myself again. So it's a process. And that's what people's got to remember. They got to trust that process.
Yep.
There is... they've come up with a formula. It takes a person 6 months in an organized setting to begin to even start to reprogram their brain.
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's talked about this.
They have to be completely unplugged, and don't put any expectations on them. Just let them learn to deal with themselves. Give
Yes.
them the infrastructure to succeed. Give them a program, and give them 6 months before you ever start coming in and starting throwing punches.
No, that's good.
Coping skills.
Because you need 6 months to begin to just unplug from this system. It's like the Matrix. You got to unplug from it and begin to realize, hey, there's something else here, and then it's like a total new spectrum that you have to adjust to.
Would you agree that part of the subculture is just people that feel like they don't fit in?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they may not be on drugs. They may not be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're
They
just
don't
talking
fit.
about one sect here.
No, right.
Of
I'm
it. But
just
yes,
asking-
absolutely, absolutely.
Dan talks about in the show when he shared his testimony in I think it's part 4 or 5 of the Take Action Day series. He talks about it takes time for the body to heal from the trauma you've put on that
Yes,
body.
absolutely.
The nerves to regenerate, the mind to regenerate, and it just takes time.
Did time.
They told me I had carpal tunnel surgery. Y'all know this season. I've got my stitches out. I had bandages on. I came here and did a show the day after surgery, and it was just and I'm like 24 days, 30 days removed. I still only have 10, 20 pounds of power. I had 2 and 5, and they told me that this is crazy. Listen to this. They told me that this controls these ligaments that go all the way out to here. And they said that's about 6, 7, 8 inches. They says a normal person's nerves regenerate 1 inch per month. So they said, even though I got a lot of my feeling back, they said my best feeling to pick everything up will come in about 7 months. Number one, it's 6 inches out there, but I'm over 50 and I'm type 2 diabetic. And they said, because of that, I heal slower than other people. So what would take 6 months will probably take me 7, plus I'm 57, 58, and it's going to be maybe 7. So they said, you'll need to be patient for up to 7 to 8 months and don't go out doing a jackhammer in the meantime, because it'll push you back.
Sure.
So you're going to have to give 7 to 8 months of patience. I can't go out and shoot 100 rounds of my revolver. He told me shoot one time and one time only. Because if you do that, the damage it's easy to fall back.
Yep.
Because your body needs the time. But he said in 8 months, your body will be better than it was before. It'll be alive again.
Right.
That's similar for this.
Very
Very similar.
Very similar.
And the mind does the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
your
it's-
experience too?
And it's easy, and I didn't mean to. I'll
No,
shut up. But it's
no.
easy to, when you're early in recovery. I mean, your first year in recovery, it's easy to fall back. Just because we've not learned coping skills. I've not learned how to deal with my emotions.
That's what you're talking about, coping
I've
skills.
not
Oh, yeah.
learned how to be a father or a husband or just a productive member of society. So I've got all this pressure all of a sudden put on me, and if we're not careful, that'll weight us down. And instead of trying to find something healthy to cling to, we just go back to what we're comfortable with.
We're used to.
Right.
What I'm used to.
I'm going to get
easy.
us back on track in a second, but I got Dale brought something up in previous episodes, so please go watch part 1 and 2. He mentioned that every time you tried to come up out of the world and begin to make your move, you basically got smacked back down. You get some momentum, and whether it was the church or something else, it would pop you and jack you back down. I think that's something a lot of us find, and you talk about coping skills and learning how to get stronger, and it's like the Lord wants you up, but the devil wants you back down.
Well, sure.
So there's going to be a battle out of that world. Do you find that true in the world you're working in Mount Vernon?
I find that, yeah, and I'm going to go a step further than that. This is challenges and next moves, right?
Yes, right. What's next?
Okay, so if God has placed you somewhere to make a difference and to do something differently, even the people that are supposedly on your team will fight against you.
That was where I was going to. Go ahead.
So you'll find out that people that you thought were your friends or your partners will take jabs at you or come against what you're doing. And why? Because you're stirring that spiritual atmosphere. You're breaking that religious spirit. You're breaking that Jezebel spirit.
go.
You're breaking these.
That's your friends, but also people close to you, right?
Right. Now, listen, I'm not saying that they are possessed by these. I'm saying that they are under the influence
Sure.
of these things because they're in that we've always done it this way. Things are never going to change. I mean, you're battling this, right?
Right.
So you're battling all this stuff, and then they're going to say, "Oh, you're that guy that thinks he's really going to come in here," and if you let that affect you, that's going to smack you
It'll
down.
smack you back down.
So part of part of being a pioneer or an apostolic person or a builder, part of your job is to go in and plow these unplowed grounds and take possession of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't necessarily go in there and do that just, hey, I'm here. You do it by, as I was telling Steve and earlier, and I think Troy, you were there.
Yeah.
We were having coffee. My wife and I walk our downtown area every night and pray over what God has shown us our vision is. We get out literally every night and march, and we measured it. We walk about almost 3 miles.
Wow.
And while we're walking, we're talking about the vision. We're talking about what's going on at the building. We're talking about how we're amazed at how these things are working. We're talking about how we don't like how this is working. We're, you know what I mean? So not only is this a time where we're out claiming our territory and marking our territory, we're also we're coping
Right.
with each other. I mean, not coping with each other. That sounded bad, but it's a coping mechanism we're able to pour out to each other
Sure.
as we're talking. Our mind is tuned into what's going on at this point, and we're letting that out, right? But we do this. If it's raining, of course we don't. But we do this every night, and people go, well, how long are you gonna do that? I don't know, until things break. Faith, I put this on my Facebook yesterday. Faith is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
That's right.
Right? Because if you even look at Noah was just going on a whim what God told him, and he was going for 100 years, right?
Right.
And then it wasn't a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the Bible tells us to go into the highways and byways and compel them to come in. If you look up the word compel, it means to grab, kidnap, pull. So something's coming. Something is coming to where Jesus has given us the mandate to go out into the highways and byways and compel them with everything we have to get them to come in. Something is coming. And no one wants to ever talk about that. They want to talk about, when you accept Jesus, everything turns to a bed of roses.
Right.
Which
I
is
would
not
say-
true. Which is
I would
not
say,
true.
No.
I would say if that's what your church teaches, probably leave. because
Yeah, it's a very. I think it's one of the most dangerous teachings to teach that you get saved. Everything will be rose garden. I'm gonna tell you right now, all hell will come to get you back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All hell will come to get you.
And
And that ball
if
will
that's
be
your
spiked.
philosophy, then it's not gonna be fun for you.
Most people that have been lost are going to fight battles. They're going to have to rework that mind for a while. It's like that nerve growing back. Your spiritual body works the same. Let me throw this at you. I have found very clearly that, that ball being smacked back down, like we talked about, you're coming up. I find that it's not just the world that does that. I can find its own family, insiders,
Absolutely.
your friends, because they knew the old you. And sometimes they knew what you did and they compensated for you. They learned to run the family. The wife learned to run the family without you. They knew you weren't available. They learned to do this. And all of a sudden you're clear, you're saved, you're this, you're turning back on. They're like, well, we've been doing this without you.
Right.
We don't need your input.
Right.
Also, they see that, and they see that God's hands on you, and you're being blessed.
And they get jealous.
They get jealous.
No, that's a story we're coming to.
Yeah.
I had a great example of this. I had a couple in our church years ago in Pawnee, and the wife come dragging in the husband and said, if he doesn't give his life to Jesus, he's no good, low for nothing, piece of crap. If he doesn't give his life to Jesus, I'm leaving him, and just left him sitting in my office. Like a child bringing, like bringing the child in, John.
Yeah.
Like bringing the child in and say, sit down. And so she walked out, and I said, Bill, you're in trouble, aren't you? I said, so you're here. And he told me what all happened, how bad things were. I said, I can't really help you, but I can tell you, if you want to go with me to Mardi Gras, we'll go on the streets and we'll talk about Jesus with people, and the people that love me into Christ will love you into Christ. And he went with me on a street outreach. He literally didn't. I said, if you want to get saved. So he went to New Orleans with me and shared Jesus on the streets. He didn't even have Jesus yet. But to get there, he had to go through the group and the small group and the when, where, and why. He got the Jesus, came back on fire for Jesus. For the next 6 months to a year, he's going to everything. He is now involved in everything. His wife came in, literally came in and said, you've ruined me in the church. Everybody loves Bill. Everybody wants Bill. Everybody's excited about Bill. I'm nobody in this church anymore. You ruined my place in this church. And she left him
Yep.
and went to another man.
Yep.
And he was righteous. Now, I won't say this in a good sense. God brought him a better wife.
Oh yeah.
I want to tell you that honestly.
I would say to that,
About you 2 years later.
this would be my, because I've gone through similar situation. They were looking for an excuse to leave anyway.
Yeah,
Sure.
I found that out.
Absolutely.
I wish I'd have known. I wish I'd have known this stuff then. I'd have.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's good.
Golly, she brought him in, and honestly, it's one of the greatest transformations I've ever seen. He was a better father, better kid, and he's a better husband now to his wife and a better kid. And his wife became the recreant. She ended up with an affair, ended up doing all kinds of bad things. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. So sometimes people close to you can sabotage you.
Sure.
Yes.
And jealousy gets in there. That's
Sure,
true. I think
absolutely.
you're. And I think a lot of times, I'm going to extend this a little bit, and we'll get this maybe more on the roundtable, and we want to get into the next moves. Is the church itself blows up its own gospel sometimes,
Oh.
Yeah.
and I think
They-
you guys see that regularly.
very implosive.
It doesn't mean to. I think a lot of it's like the old guys in the Muppets. They don't mean to be gripey and stuff and look down at people, but they're up there looking down at people and they're griping. And so,
Why is God blessing you
Yeah.
and he's not blessing me? Why is
Right.
God using you
Yeah.
but
But-
he's not using me?
At the same time, those people have absolutely no idea what you've been through.
Sure.
They have
have
not
no
walked
idea.
your shoes.
They haven't
No
walked
clue.
your shoes.
Yeah, there
They
is
don't know how
nothing to be jealous of.
Or how many
Yeah.
times you've been
it
in
looks
your room
romantic.
crying out.
Yeah.
It looks romantic
Right.
when you're coming through the grace period, but what makes the grace so powerful is the valley you just crawled through.
Well, I just
Right.
spoke Sunday, and I said we're talking about transformation. When God gets a hold of your life and you're transformed, I said there's an ugly stage.
Oh yeah.
There's
Oh,
that
yeah.
ugly stage where nobody wants to get their hands dirty. They don't want to have their makeup running down their face because, you got to go to that ugly stage for God to start
Yeah.
blossoming.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know?
Sure.
So
Well, I got a question for both of you. When we in this segment we're talking about challenges, and I know for a fact, when we're dealing with a subculture in general, it's going to bring its challenges, not just inside our building or our church or whatever, but within the community.
Absolutely.
And I was going to ask you both, because I'd like to hear both of your perspectives. What challenges are you finding in the communities bringing in this subculture? Because, and I'm going to turn you loose. There's a saying in the recovery community. It's called NIMBY, and that is not in my backyard. That is the attitude and the approach a lot of people have. Yes, we need recovery housing, just not in my town.
We got that
yes,
inherent
we
too, don't
need.
we?
Yes, we need food distribution, just not in my town. So walk us through, and the listeners through, what kind of challenges are you guys facing in your communities?
go for it, buddy.
So we have a warming center, which has actually become a homeless shelter, and we have another homeless shelter. I would say, I don't want to get my numbers wrong. They'll take on anybody that can pass a background check and a drug test, et cetera, right? I don't know how many they turn away, but I would say that a majority of the people that really, really need to be there can't get in.
Sure.
Why is that? Well, because they're government funded by grants or whatever, so they've got to walk through these hoops in order to have the grants.
Right.
Which is part of why I open an LLC.
Yeah.
I do operate under a 501c3, but
You
I
can
also
separate
do-
those worlds if you need to.
exactly.
I understand.
Right. So I can. So the way that I've figured to get around that is to actually not open a homeless shelter, but open an apartment complex or buy a hotel.
That's what John's talked about doing.
And-
Transitional
Yeah,
housing
that's
so
good.
down
Yes,
the road.
and actually having those people as tenants. You
So
get
more of a
around-
transitional housing plan to
You
help
get
people.
around all the BS.
Housing
you can
authority, the
actually,
red tape, yeah.
So you can actually go directly to the
Yeah.
problem. Now, with that, and that's what I was saying, you got to have an infrastructure for them to succeed. So you got to have a program in place that when they check in, here are the rules, the regulations, and part of that is money control. Okay?
Sure.
Because if they want help you've got to help them control their money.
Oh yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
first thing they'll do if they get any money is
Spend it on whatever.
right. So you got to. The first obstacle is getting them to come in agreement with money control. The second thing you got to do is you got to have some kind of program to begin to show them the way out of what they're in, which sounds like you're very well equipped in that. Okay, then from there you can begin to start to re-educate them. So this is a process. So I mean, there's a lot involved. So I guess if we would say next moves, I'm at the point now where I need a place to house people, start this program. But when they come through that program, then we've got to begin to disciple or teach or educate. So part of the vision that God had given me, it's starting to make sense a little bit. He told me to believe for some property, and you can take these words literally, or you could just take these words as meaning, oh, okay, just whatever. But he told me believe for these properties to build a tower to the sky, which could just be a housing tower or whatever, 5-star hotels and buildings. And he said, I want you to build my economy here. So to build his economy would be an economy that probably did not function the way that a normal Babylonian type economy would work, correct? So that's the vision. So where am I at now? I'm at the point where, well, the housing needs to start coming. But if the housing comes, I need the education center too, because they coincide with each other. You can't really have one without the other. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So you really can't have one without the other. So you need the educational part of it. Also, with that, you want to disciple them to go back out and replicate what you just did, right? So there's definitely a school of ministry or something, but you don't want it to just be a school of ministry because you want them to get an education. So you need to have, the educational platform as well. So
Right.
there's a lot involved, and a lot of people, like me, get into this very naive because you don't really know what you're jumping into.
Sure,
You know what I
sure.
mean? And so whenever it doesn't work the way that you think it should, you're like, oh man, I failed. Like the deal that I had to deal with last weekend, man, that my wife and I struggled not with the fact that they destroyed our property, but more on the emphasis of we failed,
Wow.
because we brought them in to help them, and they left really in no better condition than when they came in.
And that can lead to what he talked about in the fatigue.
Yes, and that and
How you respond to that.
it's very fatiguing mentally.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, how can I help these people when I don't even have the capacity to do it? And yet
Sure.
you keep bringing them to me.
And we've all have kids here, so you can have this with a child and be very
Mm-hmm.
disappointing and have to go through the pain with them. We've had that.
Right.
You've had that all. But these become like our family.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it can have that kind of effect and impact.
Absolutely.
And repetitively, there's a contact.
your heart breaks because you
Or your heart gets hard.
Yes.
It depends on which way you go.
I guess.
know-
I understand that too, but we pour so much into these people, and just to see them continue to down spiral, it's hard.
But it can burn you out. You get skeptical. This isn't
Yeah.
working. We're wasting our time. You
Right.
you go the other way.
That's the mental challenge.
Yes.
So
That's the mental
I wrote
Yes.
this question a few minutes ago with both of you sharing if you're going to be out there for challenges, next moves, you got to survive. And really, survival is not good enough. You've got to thrive to be the leader in the ministry.
Absolutely.
And I don't care what ministry you lead.
Right.
I lead a ministry. You're going to have down days where you need to go be with the Lord. Even the Lord had to go away and send the guys across the water,
Absolutely.
and he joined them later after he spent some time with the Father. So,
Sure.
the Lord went in the garden and had to pray 3 times for the will to be done. He did it. There was never a question Jesus would fail. But even Jesus took 3 prayer trips.
He buckled under the pressure.
He
just
did.
like-
He sweat
did.
some blood. I mean,
Yeah.
the dude's God. He sweat some blood because what was coming was going to be painful.
Yeah. Oh,
So how do you guard yourself? And maybe you can't always, but how do you stay healthy in the long run? What has been a key for you in doing that? And maybe we'll come around a little bit later and get that from all you guys. But what's a key for you right now in staying healthy with the environment of people you're working with?
Sunday
Sunday.
really is what keeps us sane, I believe, and even that's not enough sometimes.
Yeah.
But we'll go down and visit Brandy and Steve, in Vienna for the day, and that's very relieving for us. We will go to
Some shore leave is what you need.
right. We'll go to the ocean, they call it, Rin Lake, which is very disappointing.
Beth grew up in Rin
but
Lake.
at
She
least-
swims a coin. She thinks that she
At
took me
least-
down like this is not destined. Trust
Right.
me.
At least we can, we both
The
love
ocean.
we love the water,
Yeah.
so at least we can somewhat be, if you call that water.
It's the beach.
It's the beach. That's what she used to tell me. No,
There's
it's not.
sand.
Definitely
No.
not the beach.
There's sand.
So, I mean, Sundays we love going to Evansville. We go over there to the pallet store and buy product to sell in our store. So we'll go spend the day in
Just
Evansville.
to break in your flow a little bit.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you don't go to church. I'm like, we do church 6 days a week.
Do
24
you
hours a day.
understand being in ministry this time why Jesus left them and went up the mountain by himself and said, I'll see you
Absolutely.
guys later?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do
Because
too.
we have people after people. Where do you go to church? I'm like, we do church 6 days a week here. We do the things your church will not do.
Where I go to church on Sunday, I'm not telling you.
Right.
I may be here, maybe there. I understand that. I mean, I think people don't understand. I mean, they don't. They just think it's magical. You've got to have some downtime, and you've got to have some time to reflect and just walk with
But
God.
I understand them because you have to have some reins too,
Yes.
because otherwise you can go whoop real
That's
quickly.
right. Sure. That's right. Right.
You need accountability, and that's why I'm.
But the deeper you
thankful.
go, the more that the success of that will depend on your personal time with Him.
Absolutely.
Your couple. As a couple, you've got to do
Yes.
that together too. You got to
Absolutely.
maintain that. We are learning that it takes more out of us when we do a big lift.
Yeah.
We need to have time away. When Jesus fed the 5,000 and John the Baptist had just been beheaded and killed, he just did the greatest miracle that you've ever seen. He then went up the hill, sent the guys across, and he met them in
Later.
the night. You know what I mean? The greater the lift, the more time you'll need.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is with leaders, you're lifting all the time because there is a lot to be done, and the church is failing. I hate to say it, the church is failing in so many regions. So when you get effective leaders like John here and Dan and you guys, it just looks like you could go nonstop.
Yeah,
Good
You're,
drain.
you're blessed having your pastors here with you,
Yeah.
helping you.
But they've all got full time ministries
Yeah.
of the same kind of people.
So I find myself going to like some different, services and conferences, and or my wife, I'm like, baby, you have to minister today because I need fed, and you can have your personal time, you have your time in the garden when you're crying out to your Father, but there's also times where you need to go and be with other like-minded people to get fed.
Yeah.
So,
Help me understand. I want to get through this part 3 segment. And challenges and moves. One of the things that we want to get out of for the subculture. Let me get back to the subculture. mtv.org. Go to the subculture 618 on Facebook. Tell me what you see next for your ministry as a whole. What are your goals? What are your visions? How can people be praying for you, coming along beside you to encourage you and support you?
I mean, because it's such a wide array.
No,
so-
I know you
so
got a lot
it's-
going on.
I see next year being absolutely crazy on the road. I do. Just the doors that I have opening up, people reaching out to me. I see that.
Through festivals, through music events.
yeah,
and things like that.
exactly.
Well, we're going to be one of those people that are going to burden you, but we're going to be close to you.
So I see a lot of that. I see, that was one of my goals for this year was to start moving into the housing part. That has not come to fruition yet, but it's still, it's got to be our next move. Like if we have one thing that is lacking in our city, it's a place for these people to
Okay.
go.
Well, look, can we put a pin in that for 1 second? Just and
Sure.
I've already marked it for Roundtable, but listen, we are starting. I pulled this up I've learned to do this finally. How to go? Okay, at the House of Hope. You guys were there today. Let me put it up. House of Hope's on the right. That's our
Right.
new building on the left. We have developed a plan to put a gap clinic and a mobile gap clinic to do the checks and a Hope emergency shelter in there. And John's expanding to expand the distribution center. We are gutting that building now. There is nothing that has caused more of a cramp in our community than the shelter part.
Isn't that funny?
Isn't it funny?
Yep.
It's the shelter part.
Yeah.
It's what you said, NIMBY. No, we like the clinic. We like them coming and going, and we like the distribution. They can come and go. But
we don't
We
are
don't
people
want
going to
them.
live there? And let me say this very clearly. The Hope Emergency Shelter is not going to be housing. It's emergency. It will only be open for hot or cold days when the county authority, our mayor, asks us to open. When the chief of police or chief of fire says we've had a disaster, we need you to open, it will be open as an emergency response shelter on cold, hot nights and for like a tornado or gas leak. It'll be for special purposes. Now, we're doing that because Emergency Services in Williams County asked us. There's not one facility that's not a city building that's available for this in all of Williamson County. We will be the only non-for-profit run. So we're doing this really at their request, right?
Correct.
At the county's request. But we've had a kickback a little bit by a few people going, well, we don't want, are people going to be living up there? I said, no. They're going to be coming in at 10, leaving at 6 because they're freezing to death, they're dying. And people have asked us to help because it's a crisis.
Yeah.
And if it was your crisis, you'll be up there too.
But it's them. We don't.
My
want
wife and I were
Yeah.
very careful. We had Hope Emergency Housing Shelter. We took it out before that we even knew it was a problem because we didn't want people to think it was a house. But John came to me and said, the biggest need we have in our area is transitional housing. And so we had agreed when we started this, we will never turn this into that, but we will find a location next to go to the next level.
So you're where we are.
No, I'm telling you, we're exactly where you are. So our commitment is when we finish this building, I've given John my word, didn't I? That our next step will be to develop a transitional home. Let me say this for our community and for our council person. It will not be in this space. It'll be in a place that our mayor and our people are on board with, and it'll be the right kind of place for this. We will find a place where people will be safe and we can do transitional housing. The Lighthouse does transitional housing for 30 days here. We want to do something that's a little more 6 months orientated and then work with HUD housing and stuff to get people into more permanent. I know you guys are looking a little bit that way too, right?
Right. Well, I mean, you're talking probably one of the most one of the biggest needs for Southern Illinois in general is crisis homeless, or the crisis homelessness problem here in Southern Illinois. And I was just counting off the top of my head from Mount Vernon down. We only have 5 homeless shelters.
Yep.
4 of them have such strict rules to get
absolutely.
in that 98% of those that need crisis
Can't get in.
can't even get in. There's only one in Mount Vernon that will allow, that is a little more liberal on their rules.
And they still have rules.
And they still have rules.
And let me say this: we understand why. It's a difficult market. It takes a challenge. It takes equipping. It takes a skill set. And what we're saying is we believe that we're going to have to figure out how to develop that.
Yeah.
So I want you to know. I know we really are spending our first full day together. I think if we'll put a pin in that together, I think we can begin. We'll strategize with you on that. Yeah. And maybe when we can figure this out, we're going to need about a year to get this thing going, 2 years. But we believe the emergency shelter, with what we're feeding, will give us the numbers to prove we're worthy of the next. And we talked to people in the housing authority, and they said, you're already going the right direction. Do this first. Show us there's a need. Then we can help you with that next phase. And we believe there's good solutions out there. We've got some good ideas. So I think we need to put a pin in that, and we need to form a little team here, the 618 team, and we need to look at how we can address that in a way that we can be responsive to your needs in the Mount Vernon area, maybe even in the Take Action coverage area, and especially in Southern Illinois, which would include you, my brother.
I want to go a step further. 618 Southern Illinois is the most impoverished part of the state as well.
It's Haiti. It's Haiti of the Midwest.
And here's the thing: the people that they don't even have money, but they have housing or whatever. They make it even worse by not wanting to be a part of that culture that is there, right? So, Southern Illinois is also called Little Egypt.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I assume you all know that.
Yes.
I believe we're going to a point where things are going to get much worse before they get better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's not getting better. I'll tell you right now.
Here's
not
the
right
deal.
Now.
No, it's not.
Here's the deal. Where are our Moseses stepping up to lead the people out of their bondage?
Well, I know John's already declared that. So
no, I'm just saying
yeah,
where they are.
they're not there.
So
They're
here,
not there.
you know where they are? They're right here.
They're right here.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
The solution
So-
will come in a room like this,
Right.
where we get off the dock and into
Exactly.
the deep and deal with this.
That's what I'm saying. So that's where are our Moseses? They're right here.
Right here. And I will own the fact that we are not ready for that step yet.
Right.
As we go on this next step, we are gaining the tools we need to learn. Dan's getting the training he needs to help manage people in that condition. He's getting his master's now and working toward a doctor's. We are all growing that direction in what we're doing. I think there's a strategic alliance that could be as good of any alliances I could see in 618 in this room right here that could at least come up with some sort of next step and partner also maybe with some of the other steps that are already doing it. One of our missions is to go learn.
Well, I was going to say you might have John speak about
Go
what
ahead,
his action. Like you would like to see a halfway house too, or, or something
Well, we
like
don't.
that. Because
When we say transition, we mean both because there's not one now.
I mean, I wouldn't be in the position where I'm at today, not just physically but spiritually, if it wasn't for the halfway house that I was able to come to down here in Southern Illinois straight from prison.
And there's not one now, so you cannot have a John
Right.
Steve right now because there's no way for him to come here today.
Right.
I think what needs to happen, and maybe it's the people in this room, and I've wanted to do this for a while, so I'm just going to throw it out there. We need to go to Los Angeles, California, to the Dream Center, because they're doing everything that we're doing at a magnified scale, and they've been doing it for 20 years. They house people. They have a 2-year program. They re-educate people, and they
I'd go see it.
They send them back out into society educated. Some of the people come in and volunteer or work for them there. There's also a branch in St. Louis. It's on a smaller scale. But I want to go to Los Angeles where the real deal is, because that's what I see happening here. And it would take all of us pulling our resources together to do something.
To even make a dent in it. Okay, I'm going to pause right here. Listen, challenges and next moves, we've identified it. We have identified it. We're going to wrap up part 3.
There are more than 8 billion phones in the world, a fact that threatens your privacy, security, and health. With Silent Pocket Faraday protection, you can regain control over your mobile devices. We get it. Privacy and security are inconvenient topics, and you may feel like you have nothing to hide, but the fact is that in the modern world, your laptop is never really off. Your phone emits a signal, even in airplane mode. And everything from your passport to your credit cards contains RFID, and all of it contains valuable private information that is easily exploited in the wrong hands. Silent Pocket offers a range of products you already use: wallets, bags, travel gear, laptop sleeves, key cases, but with the added protection of our patented Faraday technology, which turns your devices invisible and safe from the outside world. Many industries, from top business professionals to government officials, require the use of Faraday products for the day-to-day security of them and their staff. They understand that we are constantly at risk and take the necessary steps to prevent future attacks. We offer this elite technology to anyone that values their personal data, and we are proud to offer a premium range that fits seamlessly into your everyday life, providing security without looking like a tinfoil hat. As we learn to live with technology, Silent Pocket stands on the 3 pillars of privacy, security, and health. Our goal is to provide harmony with mobile technology without risking our most valuable information. We hope you'll trust us to help you do the same. There are more than 8 billion phones in the world, a fact that threatens your privacy, security, and health. With Silent Pocket Faraday protection, you can regain control over your mobile devices. We get it. Privacy and security are inconvenient topics, and you may feel like you have nothing to hide, but the fact is that in the modern world, your laptop is never really off. Your phone emits a signal, even in airplane mode. And everything from your passport to your credit cards contains RFID, and all of it contains valuable private information that is easily exploited in the wrong hands. Silent Pocket offers a range of products you already use: wallets, bags, travel gear, laptop sleeves, key cases, but with the added protection of our patented Faraday technology, which turns your devices invisible and safe from the outside world. Many industries, from top business professionals to government officials, require the use of Faraday products for the day-to-day security of them and their staff. They understand that we are constantly at risk and take the necessary steps to prevent future attacks. We offer this elite technology to anyone that values their personal data, and we are proud to offer a premium range that fits seamlessly into your everyday life, providing security without looking like a tinfoil hat. As we learn to live with technology, Silent Pocket stands on the 3 pillars of privacy, security, and health. Our goal is to provide harmony with mobile technology without risking our most valuable information. We hope you'll trust us to help you do the same.